last week on the Nicoletti Show. I am so excited to welcome our guest, Kendall Lejeune, to the show. Kendall!
Don't ever just stop marketing and then pivot. You always want to add to what you're currently doing versus, okay, that was working, now let's evolve and do something completely different.
I've also been hearing that the cold calling is still king.
I love the speed and the velocity of it. They have to make a decision right there. Like, are they interested or are they not?
Kendall is seasoned in this. He sees what's going on. He sees what the other investors are going through.
I'm going to give another shout out here to my brilliant friend, Alicia Jarrett.
Yes.
Building a business is very much like flying a plane while you're trying to build the plane.
What characteristics do you want in new hires?
I want them to have an open growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. This type of mentality will tell me that someone is open to growing and learning and being coached. Embrace the hard. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. Things don't ever get easier. You will just get better. So don't feel like you'll ever be out-competed if you're constantly growing.
Thank you, Kendall. Really appreciate it, man. I'll see you soon. You know that.
Wishing you all the best on your season 5.
Thank you. Thank you. It'll be a great one. Love that episode with Kendall Lejeune last week. If you missed any of it, check it out. You can catch it on YouTube, Facebook, iTunes, Spotify. You know where to find us. Click the link tree, or if you scan the link tree, we'll put it up on the screen. But Kendall dropped so many gems on the season 5 premiere when it comes to land flipping, the state of land and getting into land, and of course, building a culture of excellence and the mindset you have to have when you're being in that role of running a company. It's one thing to do the deals. It's one thing to get the leads, get the sales, but it's also managing the team. That can help so many investors that are scaling and growing their business, and you don't want to miss it. You got to go check that out. Great episode right there. And of course, for all the content you can find on the Nicoletti Show, you can check it out on YouTube, Facebook, iTunes. You can catch all the videos and the micro content that are dropping on Instagram. You know, there's just tons of channels that we're on. So make sure you check it out there. And we're excited. Another Wednesday night in the studio. I can't even believe it's Wednesday already. I mean, I woke up this morning. I was like, wait, is it Tuesday? Is it Monday? No, it's Wednesday, and we're live on the Nicoletti Show, 9 p.m. I'm excited for the guest tonight, McKlane Bobbitt. This is one you definitely want to have your pen and paper and notepad ready, because he's going to drop so many valuable nuggets for people that are in this space, in messy title, crazy deals. This is going to be one for you, and I'm ready to rock this thing. So let's rock this thing. Hey, everybody. My name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida, and welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in their communities that educate, entertain, and inspire. All things on Florida real estate, and always bring in the best specialists and experts in the real estate industry that can help level up your business, get your team in check, level up your leadership, level up your mindset, level up what's going on for you this year so you can take your businesses to another level. Well, you know, we go live every Wednesdays at 9 p.m. for those that are listening on Spotify and iTunes and Audible. And you can catch all the content that is always dropping on YouTube and Facebook. Check us out there. And I got to say, we always love on the Al Nicoletti Show when the fans, the followers are always dropping comments, engaging, asking questions. That's what we want. We want the engagement out there because we want to hear what you're going through. We want you to be able to ask the guests live or even get with them at a later date on how you're getting through these deals or how you can really solve these. And that's what we love in seeing this. And I got to say, you are all in for a treat with McKlane Bobbitt tonight. This guy is loaded with information on messy titles, how to overcome them, the top lead sources for messy titles, why you should get into this. And we're going to dive in on all his topics, and it's going to be a banger. You don't want to miss it. You all know I got opening thoughts for the show tonight. And this is something that came up this past week for me. And as soon as it came up, I said, I got to share this with everybody that's on and listening and on the show. And this is a concept that it wasn't something that I had implemented at first when starting my law firm. Back when I started, I mean, it was just, we were just doing anything and everything to get things sorted out, getting deals, getting probates done. And it took me a couple of days to think about this, but really, for all of us, when we're starting out our business, maybe year one is not the year that this gets implemented. I'd say about year two, but definitely halfway through year two and year three, when you've started hiring people, not just one person, but more than one, maybe two, three, four, more than that, you got to really get down to this new implementation. And I'm sure McKlane's seen it, which is the thing that I'm implementing, enforcing, and enhancing with my team today is the concept of quality control, right? Quality control with what we're preparing, what we're emailing, what we're going through. And it's not just them, it's not just the team. It always starts with me. And I'm implementing that because, like Kendall talked about in the season 5 premiere, what I'm trying to do is build a culture of excellence, right? Build a culture that when we start hiring more people, the people that we hire, it's expected of them that they have that same quality that I've instilled in my team. And so quality control can be anything from just the simple things, right? Spelling emails, the way we're using customer service, the way we're going about follow through start to finish. If you're not implementing that with your team right now, you have to. If you're starting out and you're hiring people, you need to take the time to go through that, and it always starts with you. So with that being said, I want to hear from you all. I would love to hear what's going on in your business. I want to hear what steps and procedures are you all taking that you're implementing with your team for quality control, or maybe you're going to. What steps are you going to take? We love to hear those kinds of things because we know that we're helping provide that value and that open mind to what you can do in your business and reinforce with your team. So I hope that helps everybody out there. I can't wait to hear what you all think. And I got to say, y'all are sticking around. You're going to be so excited you're watching this episode with McKlane Bobbitt. I love this guy. I remember when I met McKlane. I met McKlane in Milwaukee, and we were at Hustle Harder. And I remember I had seen him on Facebook. I remember he was commenting in the REI SIFT page. Shout out to REI SIFT and the whole community there. He was commenting there. I've seen him posting. And I remember I like this is the kind of guy like you see online, but then when you meet in person, I felt like a kid. I couldn't believe it was McKlane Bobbitt. And we hit it off from there. Love seeing what he's doing with Messy Title. And you all are going to love this guy. So without further ado, let's welcome McKlane Bobbitt to the show. McKlane, you're here.
Al, thanks for having me on.
I love it. I love where you are, and I love what you're doing right now. I think it's going to be inspiring for many. And, you know, I want to jump right in, McKlane. One thing that we had talked about last week was how crazy last year was. And before we get to this year and how people can capitalize on these leads, I really kind of want you to give people that idea of what last year was like when a lot of people were pulling back in the market. And that's when you were like, we went in.
Yeah. So you made a really good point is, especially out here in the DFW market, there was a ton of, obviously Texas is a huge area for investors. And whenever the market shifted, interest rates rose up, like you said, a lot of buyers pulled out. There was honestly a point in third quarter, fourth quarter, we had a lot of deals that our normal buyers just pulled out. They're like, we're too afraid to buy anything. And obviously we had the resources, the private money to go buy these deals that it was like, hey, I could wholesale this deal, or I could just wholesale it to myself and take down these properties that everyone's skipping on. And as you know, whenever the tide's out, like you realize who's swimming, who's not. and we just took advantage of it and capitalized on our deals heavily last year.
Yeah, I remember how, like you said, like the buyers just flaked out. I even saw on my end, like just a lot of people pull back marketing. I know a lot of people were worried about interest rates, but just it seemed like there was more like cost cutting, and as like Kendall talked about on the last episode, like you don't want to cut back on marketing. You don't want to cut back on marketing. And it seems like you found that groove of like, well, if people pull out, you go in. Wholesaling is gonna keep going, and that's like the real in. But the cool part about what you do is how messy title is where the energy is spent, right? And you love messy title. Why do you love messy title, McKlane?
I could sit here and talk about messy title for hours, but there's something about chasing down these heirs and chasing down like these impossible sellers. And I guess you could say it's always been that chip on my shoulder whenever I first came across a messy title deal. And I had our attorney, our title officer. Granted, they were still learning about me. I was learning about them. And I remember the attorney said, "Hey, we can't clear this title. You're just going to have to drop the deal." And for me, it was like, nope, I am going to go to hell and back to find this person. I'm going to find this deal. So I found that spark. And to me, that's where I get the most joy is, hey, let's go find this person. What do we have to do to get in front of them and get to this contract across the finish line?
Yeah. And when you talk about messy title, you're not talking about just getting the deal across the finish line with somebody that you're able to find. You're talking about there's either liens, there's probates, there's missing heirs, there's just stuff popping up on the title that most people wouldn't want to even deal with, right? Like wouldn't want to close with.
Correct. Yeah. Medicaid liens, city fines, multiple heirs. You might have 8 or 9 heirs, all of that stuff.
Yeah. And I could tell you that it's a very tight niche for some people. Because there's a lot of resources and a lot of experts that you have to leverage and a lot of time, right? Like how much time would you say goes into something with like messy titles versus just a regular deal?
I'll say, and that's a good question because a lot of people ask that is, hey, if I do broad marketing, you might get a deal after making 20,000 cold calls or 15,000 cold calls. Whereas with messy title, obviously we use REI Sift. Shout out to Tyler. We use REI Sift. And we'll find a deal in maybe 30, 40 phone calls or maybe 100 phone calls at most. And yes, we get deals very quickly, but it might take three hours of work, might do some digging. We have deals out that I'm sure you have some too like that. It might take 2 years or 3 years to work on. We have deals still in escrow from 3 years ago. And it's because it's so lengthy, but it was very quick on the acquisition.
Right. They're always quick on getting the lead in, right? You know, I can tell you quiet title. The quiet titles just take forever. Right, exactly. Yeah. Right? The eye roll. However, they can end up producing some of the biggest spreads if you have the time. Like I tell people all the time, it's like if you want to do a quiet title on this, you got to have the time, you got to have the money, you got to have the resources. And some people just don't have that time. They want to do quick flips and be out. But all that being said, I think the cool part about the messy title is that there's a lot of money to be made on them, right? How much would you say, like difference wise, is a messy title deal versus just a regular deal, like spread wise?
If you're talking like a wholesale, I'll go by percentage of ARV. So after repair value. So your normal deal, you might go 60, pushing 70% ARV right now if you're going after a normal deal. But messy title, we're hitting 10, 20 cents on the dollar. Sometimes even pennies if you're Logan Fulmer. But it just depends also how good are you at negotiating and how good are you at setting the outline of expectations. Here's what you've tried to do before. Every investor is going to offer you this. Here's what we're going to have to do. And because of this, I need it at this price. So that's how we're able to get it so cheap.
Right. And yeah, shout out to Logan Fulmer. Logan's another one in the game that finds and picks up the messy title, is not afraid to take it on because he knows the potential behind it, right? But so everybody has context. What market are you in, McKlane?
DFW, East Texas to be specific.
Okay. And so you're in that market and you're seeing a lot of these deals come up. What I really want to go through is if somebody wanted to pick these up, if somebody wanted to really get into messy title situations, what are the lead sources, right? So,
Ooh.
right, yeah, inbound, outbound. So, let's start with the outbound lead sources on getting messy deals. Cause I remember asking, I was like, hey, is it like foreclosures? Is it tax details? Is it, open files? Where do you find them?
Yeah, and that's another great question. Is uh, I've been asked is like, why do you go looking for the messy stuff? And we've gotten over the years, we refined it. We know, hey, this is our ideal clientele. Okay, birds of a feather flock together. So these typical sellers are how we find our messy title deals. And I always joke about this with our guys is like, the only guarantees in life are death and taxes. And so a lot of our deals are from the tax roll. It's the tax delinquent, tax foreclosure. And I tell them, I'm like, look, if there's someone that's already been dead or deceased on title and then they're not paying taxes, what else do they have to fear? They've got nothing else to fear, and they don't care about the property, or it's so bad that they can't sell the property. And so a lot of our deals come from tax delinquent. That's our number one source. If someone's wanting to go and get that list, it's like $100 from the county, and you can have someone on Fiverr scrape it for $60.
Which is
That's
nothing.
it. Like, that's it.
Yeah, if the deals are going to net you 50, 60, even more, I mean, what's $100, right? Even to do a skip trace or hire people like Stephanie Shepard, hiring somebody to find these people. I mean, what small nominal amount can generate a huge spread? I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? But yeah, okay, tax delinquent, which is huge. People behind on their taxes. Maybe eventually hitting a tax deed auction at some point. Another one you mentioned too that you liked was code violation.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So for obviously you have some hustlers that are starting to get the education. They're watching your show and they're like, how do I get smarter? How do I get better at my game? So if you haven't realized, if you're a wholesaling investor, if you haven't realized, code enforcement is your publicly ran driving for dollars people. Like they go down the street every day. They know which properties are boarded up, which ones might have violations for years. And they're like, no one's going to take care of this property. So if someone is not afraid of taxes, death, or the city, we just stack the two lists. So we use REI Sift, we stack them. But code violations, it's a very good resource because you have the people that are constantly updating the list. They're constantly going, hey, this person still doesn't fix their roof, their ceiling, whatever. So you combine those three, and that's always been our perfect seller persona. Our team knows, hey, if we have someone that's a widow, they're above 55 years old, and they're on tax code violations, things like that, we know that is a golden, we call them a golden target, basically. But it is our ideal seller.
Yeah, that is. I mean, there's so much to be said about tax delinquent and code violations as being distressed leads. I was just speaking at Jack's RIA 2 weeks ago. Wow, it's already been 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, time's flying. And I was talking about how like the best if you're looking for probate leads, right? A lot of people are like always just searching open files, but really it's about the distress signals, right? And what are distress signals? Code violations, tax delinquents, pre-foreclosures, all of them. And so like what McKlane's talking about is what a lot of people go after, or maybe if you're new or seasoned in the game, and are pivoting, maybe in this market, there you go. What have you seen works for outbound just marketing? Is it cold call?
First off, it's whatever you're consistent with. That like hands down, that you've got to be consistent. Obviously, there you have the 10 DLC A2P regulations with mass SMS. I know a lot of investors that they were strictly text message the last 2 years, and now they're having to learn how to cold call. So for us, we've been cold call heavy for the last 3.5 years. We don't do like a mass auto dialer just because of the regulations. And obviously with our type of stuff, you have to do some critical thinking behind it. It's not a smile and dial kind of game.
Yeah, you have to think through those kinds of things. I've heard, right? That's what you want to do when you're getting into this game, is just keep going, find a consistency to it, and stick with it, right? Don't just keep pivoting around like a shiny new object everywhere. what's the certified letter story that you had? I see that case study. And this was a tax delinquent. This was a code violation lead. So tell us what was this? Why was this such a great deal?
Yeah, so this was honestly, I guess you'd say our example of certified letters, because I always like cold calling. So we had moved on to what's the next step. For example, this one was a 5-lot package deal, 5 vacant lot property. The seller was tax delinquent almost 18 years. They had code violations for 15 years, and their house that they had lived in was demolished. So no one knew this guy. No one had seen him in 20 years, disappeared. And of course, it's East Texas. And this gentleman had 5 brothers. They were all the same first name, same last name. And they had no differentials. We couldn't find but like one of the brothers. And we had no idea to get into contact with them. Obviously, we've all been on appointments where it's, hey, we want to buy your house. We want to buy your property. Contact us. And it's just a normal postcard. So like one thing we really pride ourselves on is, how do we stand out from that? How do we make it go, man, he really took the time to send this. Like, he wanted to kick in my door to get my attention. So what we did is we sent a certified letter, and it's not your normal, hey, we want to buy your house. It's stating the obvious. Hey, it's 18 years behind on taxes. This. I know everything about your property because I came prepared, unlike Al, who sent you a basic letter. And we sent the certified letter. We sent a certified letter. It ended up being one of his brothers. And the thing we used the certified letter for is we knew which brother signed off on it, because you have to sign off on the certified letter. You can request that. It's like $3 extra to send a certified letter. So for us, that was a pivotal moment to go, we're going to get a confirmation who our target is. And it was one of the brothers. And thankfully, within like 12 hours, I got a text message, just random, from the owner of the property. And he goes, hey, I'm living in a motel. This is my daughter's phone. What do I need to do to get this money? And thankfully, he was totally open to this because it was found money for him. And we did the whole deal over text message. He ended up making about $500 per property. So he made some good money. We made about $62,000 on the assignment, and we had to go to hell and back to get this done. Ex-wife from 20 years ago, we had to get her involved. He was not willing to talk to her. No one talked to her. But really, it was the proof of concept of, how do I confirm my target and know I got my guy, versus just sending a letter and hoping that someone responds. It was getting that initial feedback, because a lot of people think of mail as, hey, it's a very responsive marketing channel. For us, it's how do we lock in that and get our confirmation? Hey, here's our guy. Here's where we need to go.
So you decided to go the route of not just the typical postcard. You went a little bit more formal, but that stands out because, I mean, if somebody gets certified mail, you're definitely pulling that out of the pack, which then sparks my thought of, if you really wanted that property, that worked for that, right? But if you really wanted a property, why not do a FedEx envelope?
Yeah.
Like, who's sending a FedEx to try to buy a house, right? And it just seems like it's a different approach. Have you ever tried like colors for colored envelopes?
Yeah. Whenever I was starting out, I actually would fold up the yellow ones, so it'd make it look like a huge envelope, and it was just like one paper. It says like, hey, we want to buy your house.
Interesting. So yeah, you tried that. You tried that. This worked for
certified letters.
Certified letters. Great. I love that. What happens to when a seller, you can't get one to respond? I see that story as well.
Man, that's my favorite one. So obviously we have our marketing channels where it's cold call. We actually have a cadence that we go by. It's a 10-day cadence. So if you are on our cadence, I'm going to dive into this, is we have about a 10-day cadence. We have a 14-day cadence. So whenever I attempt to call someone, we are very cold call heavy, because we want that response instant. I don't want to wait 2 weeks for mail. So if we can't get you by mail, text, phone call, whatever, I'm stalking you on Facebook, we can't find you, we will go to our sources and we'll get a deep skip trace. And my favorite thing is, I will send a pizza to the person. Okay. And I'll tell you how we do it. So I always look up the address, pick a pizza place. Like Pizza Hut's always in every town, I feel like. And we'll call the manager, we'll call whoever's over the Pizza Hut. We'll go, hey, I need you to write this message inside the pizza box. because again, remember, I need to stand out compared to your We Buy Houses letter. So whenever you open the pizza box, it goes, hey, McKlane sent me this pizza. It says, call him. Here's his number. So we send him a full package, like pepperoni pizza. Can't go wrong with that. A Coke, brownies. But what we do is we tip the driver and we say, hey, have them sign off their name, sign off on who it is there. So one, we accomplish the wow factor. They sent me a pizza. Okay, it cost me $15, maybe 20. Okay, two, we got a visual confirmation from the driver. And then three, we get their signature, or hey, they got a response from the driver like, oh, tell the guy I said thank you, here's my number. But we get a confirmation in 3 different ways. And so I'll tell you, we are 100% on our contact ratio with that, with pizzas. Like it's not a 30% chance of response. We are 100% on our response rate for pizza. It's expensive, crazy, but it's 100% response.
Yeah, and I remember you telling me about that last week. I'm thinking like, wait a second, you're sending a pizza to like, potential sellers, but like it gets a response.
Yeah.
And that goes into like really grabbing their attention, like grabbing a seller's attention, just doing something different and going outside of the box, outside of the norm. That's crazy. I couldn't even imagine that, right? Couldn't even imagine that. What was the reaction? Did they ever say anything? Did they give you good feedback on it?
So 2 stories come out in my head here, but the first one, like I'll tell you this one, it is probably my favorite one. It's also kind of out there, if you will. So we had a seller. They're up in Ohio, and we could not get in contact with them. We were doing a probate. It was 8 heirs. We had one that was a holdout. Had an initial phone call, perfectly fine. Hey, I'm on board. This guy went ghost for like 2 months. And what we did is we're like, look, we don't know where he lives. We just know he lives in the area, in this town. So we did a deep skip trace. We found the address, which we thought was his at the time. Turns out it was his ex-wife. So, and it gets better. So we did our normal routine. Hey, Al, I need to order pizza. I need you to do a special request. I need you to write inside the box. And then when you deliver it, tell me who's there. Like have them sign off, say thank you. We had this pizza delivered, and delivery driver goes, it was a gentleman. He didn't say his name. He did sign off, name didn't match what you told me. So we're kind of confused. I'm like, where's this going to go? Next day, so a whole 24 hours later, I get a random phone call, and I pick up, and it's this guy's ex-wife. And she goes, you almost got me killed. And it was some words in there and stuff like that. And I go, what do you mean? Well, like, I can hear someone throwing stuff in the background, like just ruffling, and like someone is getting hurt. And I go, is everything okay? What happened? And she goes, you almost got me killed. You sent a pizza from my ex-husband. And I go, whoa, what? So her current husband is in the background yelling at her, and it is just ripping into the house trying to find something because he thinks that she's cheating on him.
Oh my gosh.
So I get on the phone with the husband. I'm like, hey, look, I'm sorry. I'm trying to find this guy. He's been evading us. And he's like, oh, it's fine. I just thought she was cheating on me. So like after 20 minutes, we get done. She calls me 2 hours later. She goes, look, I'm so sorry about that. I have been talking to him. He's been in the mines. So he was actually finishing a contract in the mines. And she goes, he's been in the mines. Here's his new phone number. You can call him at this time. Had to call him at like 3 a.m. And she was able to get us all that information off the pizza. But we would have never gotten a response from him because he had a 6-month contract. And this guy was working like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and wouldn't get back out of the tunnels or the mines until like 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And most investors, you're working 8 to 5. So why are you going to call him that evening or that night?
And you called him at 3 a.m?
Yes.
This deal was that worth it?
Oh yeah, it was like a $40,000-$50,000 deal. And all we needed was him. That's all we needed.
Wait, how long did it take you to close?
We also had an $83,000 Medicaid lien. Oh. I got negotiated down to $1,200.
Hey, that's worth it.
Yeah, it was worth it. It was worth it. Totally worth it. It took 8 months total. 8 months total because he would just ghost. He'd go, oh yeah, I'll help you. And then he'd ghost.
I feel like this is the story of doing whatever it takes, whether it's sending the pizza or calling a seller at 3 a.m. Because that's his shift. That's wild. And you talked about this with me, which is this is the concept of marketing versus grabbing attention, right? A lot of people just, hear marketing, but what you really want to do is find a way that elicits a response back. And that's what you did with this. And you're doing something different with marketing to get their attention.
Exactly. Because everyone can cold call. But what is that message at the end of the day? How is it? I could send you a pizza, Al. If I send you a pizza in a trash bag, you're like, man, this guy doesn't care. But if I send you a pizza in a golden box and it's got your name written in it with the Al Nicoletti Show, you're probably going to open that and be like, man, this guy really thought about this.
That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy seeing a box with that on it. I wouldn't even know what to do. I wouldn't even know where to go with it. But you're finding success with doing this strategy. Sounds like you're going to keep doing. You even gave me that analogy of somebody sent me a shoe, like a really nice dress shoe. Like, who's doing that? Like, it's something you just won't forget, or nobody's doing something like that. So you're going to get someone's attention. But in all of this, it gets to creativity, right? Being out of the ordinary and getting into messy title deals means that you're going to have to bring out the creativity for your marketing. That's going to translate to these deals as opposed to just regular deals. So
Correct.
Forget about sales, forget about the other stuff. It starts with the marketing, and then the sales comes in, right? And being able to talk to these people. What are the negotiations like? So as soon as you got the guy on the phone at 3 a.m, eventually they got the pizza. What are you telling them? Like, what are you saying? Like, how is that conversation going? Like, tell us.
So, I mean, like you said, it's the hardest part for messy title is getting that initial contact, getting the response for someone to say, hey, because you have to remember all these people, death and taxes, two biggest things in life that are guarantees, and most people are afraid of it. If you get them to respond, they probably have never had that conversation. And we have hundreds of calls where it's recorded and it's, yeah, I haven't talked to anybody about this, or yeah, we've tried to do this before and it just got so frustrating that we just wouldn't do it. And so our conversations, we're already past the point of, hey, do you want to sell your house? What's your timeline? And it's not a 10-page script. Most of our calls are 14 minutes and it's, yeah, you know what? It sounds good. Let's do it. And so our calls are very much the consultation. It's, hey, Al, it looks like you've got this property that's tax delinquent. It looks like it was your mom's property and you're next of kin to it. Have you tried to do anything with it? Yeah, we tried to sell it with a realtor, couldn't get it cleared, had so many title issues. Okay, great. Well, here's what we do. I see you've got this. We work with these kind of sellers and we can help you get the money in your pocket. It's not a sales price of, well, okay, tell me the condition about your house. Okay, well, I need to be at 30,000. It's if I can put money in your pocket and take care of these things, what we can do is we can offer you this. And we pride ourselves on the part of the white glove service where it's, hey, we're taking care of the taxes, the liens. We're putting money in your pocket because you've already tried 14 different times with the wholesalers who said cash as is 14 days. And we come in and most people are ready to just sell it. Like, it's not even a negotiation. It's more of a, can you give me $500? We'll call it a day. Like, I just want to walk away with this. They're already beat down. So it's awesome.
Yeah. And do you get into buying out partial interests?
So knock on wood, we've been very lucky. So the last 3.5 years, we have not had to buy anyone out on interest. We get them into their equity share. Like if they're obviously on title, we'll negotiate with everyone. We're like, hey, will you take a part on here? But I prefer rather just to have everyone on board and have them split up their equity than me come out of pocket. So we don't have to come out of pocket for the equity shares.
So what has you hesitant on buying out partial interest? Because, like, let's just say, for example, I know it's like a deep breath right there. I saw it. I saw the stress. I don't know. Maybe Logan's going nuts over those. But let's just say there's 4 people on title. 3 are, you can find them. You send a pizza and they got back to you. And the 4th one just can't be found. And we'll touch on some skip tracing techniques I'm sure you use. Why not buy out the 3? And then use the time to run skip, maybe get with Stephanie, and then try to find the 4th. And then if that all exhausts, maybe you go the partition route. What's going through your mind on that kind of scenario?
So for me, I don't know if it's the way we negotiate. Like I know obviously like Logan's a total badass when it comes to it. And he's got the attorneys on staff. He's willing to do that. For me, I think it's more of a negotiation part is I would rather have everyone on board and have that conversation. Like that's the thing that I love to do is I love to get out there and have that conversation. Go, here's the picture. They can't sell without you. You can't sell without them. And reasoning with the sellers. One, it saves me time from having to go, hey, we're going to do a partition sale. It's more of a, am I willing to pay the money just to buy out the partition, or is 20 minutes on a phone call to solve the 10-year family history or family feud worth my time? Which most times that's all it is. It's just a family feud.
Yeah. They know where they are. So yeah, I've heard those calls too, where they just say it's just them. And then all of a sudden, after a couple times you ask, there's 6 people and everybody knows where everybody's at. It just takes a lot of asking, negotiating, comes down to money, right? But what are some skip tracing techniques when you're trying to locate these people because the title's so messy, right? Of course, everybody can always get with Stephanie Shepard on this. If you're running into messy deals, no matter what state you're in, Stephanie, she'll find them somewhere, whether it's in the Philippines or in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, she'll find them. But what do you do?
Yeah. So obviously, like, full disclaimer, we love Stephanie. She's awesome. If you ever reach out to her, like, don't waste her time. Like, make sure you compensate her. But yeah, so we will go through findagrave.com. We'll go to True People Search if you're balling on a budget, or if you're just needing to jog your thought process and go, who could this person potentially be related to? So we'll look for local obituaries, but Find a Grave, Ancestry.com, True People Search, Skip Genie. That's our top 4 tools we use when we go look for these types of deals. If I've spent maybe 25, 30 minutes on one prospect or one property, and I start just seeing some fog and I'm like, I can't do this, then we reach out to Stephanie. But most times now we're so seasoned in the game, we can go, hey, okay, is it worth our time? Is it worth this lead? Okay, don't push it on to Stephanie.
Yeah. Don't waste her time for sure. You want to make sure it's efficient, but do your research. And she talked about that on the episode as well about, some other free resources and that people can use. But it's always really interesting seeing it from somebody like you, that's like, that you're doing the messy stuff all the time. So you're going to find these issues. But all that aside, even the people that you find or eventually bring to the table, right? Whether you skip trace, you find them, and hopefully you find them, but you get everybody to the table. I love how you talk about the one big difference between all these deals and different investors that come into the game is it's about the service and the experience versus the price point. A lot of people focus on just the number, the price, and think that that's going to solve the issue. But it's about what you bring, the services, the experts, the attorneys, the title company, the negotiation on that end that brings that experience. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. And I'll kind of put the analogy, like, we have a 2-year-old daughter, so I can tell this to any parent that has a kid. And think of messy title work like this. There's a ton of problems. You're just trying to get off your plate. You have all these people trying to contact you. You don't know what to do. You feel chained up. You can't do anything. I compare it to the same thing is if a parent is going to the doctor and the doctor's like, hey, your kid has this, and it's going to cost $1 million. That parent will most likely go to hell and back and do whatever it takes to get that resource. Or like, there is no amount of money that will keep that parent from doing whatever they can to either comfort their child, find a cure, whatever it would be. That's how it is for us with messy title. Is these people, a lot of times they've already written it off. They're like, I just don't know what to do with this. And so we focus on that. We go, hey, look, you probably have an investor that offered you this, right? And they promised you the world, right? They're like, yeah, you know what, that really sucked. Like we were under contract 6 times and we kept trying to get our price. It was 50,000. And then we'd have other people that come in or liens that came into play. And so that's why we will say on the first call, we go, we see all these problems here. And I know Joe Sixpack, his cold caller is asking you price, timeline, condition, motivation, and that's it, surface level. But I came in specifically and I delivered that pizza that is catered to you. It's the one that you want with pepperoni, pineapples, and banana peppers, and you want it with thin crust, not the thick. Like that is what we are doing, is we are delivering a message catered to that specific seller versus all these other investors that are calling 100 people in an hour and just machine gun in the calls.
Yes, I love it. I love that strategy. It's very unique, and when you explained it to me, I just feel like it gets back to that. You have to have that customer service for anybody you're working with, whether it's other investors, realtors, title companies, because it's not always about what are your closing costs or what's the price. It's about, it's that experience. It's the relationships that you're making with those people that are going to last beyond this deal. And you never know, right, McKlane? You never know if those sellers have friends who need a pizza. And you'll get them the exact pizza, but they have friends that want to sell or are going through a situation that's even messier than theirs. And so because of that experience, that just changed the game for them. And I love that you talked about that. And when you get into these messy deals as well, you touched on this. These require a lot of getting with experts, attorneys, different people. And I think you had talked about it with me, which is getting to understand underwriting, right? That's a whole other animal. Can you elaborate on that? Because when you get those deals to the table, sometimes you run into issues where the title company says, hey, we can't close without this being done. We can't close without this. But it takes that higher level thinking of, wait a second, who's really running the show here? Who's calling the shots? And that's underwriting. What has been your experience with that with messy title?
Oh, that's a great question. My father-in-law actually asked me that question at dinner. So whenever it comes to messy title, you will have title companies that they don't take on the ones with multiple heirs because it's not worth the squeeze for them. It's not worth the money they're going to make on it. You also have different underwriters. Like that was the thing that I had a really hard time with whenever I first started out, is you're locking up deals. You're like, look, I know how to clear title. I know how to do affidavit airships. I'm the young gunslinger. Let's go do this. And you go to a different title company and they go, hey, we can't do this. And you start getting mad and frustrated. So I would go on to the next title company. And I went through 6 or 8 title companies before I finally caught on. And I think I talked to Logan on this, or one of the other investors out here. And I was like, what's the problem? Like, why does this keep happening? And they finally were like, you just don't know the underwriting process. You don't send your messy title deals to the title company that's very quick. They do deals that are clean cut. You send it to the title company that is willing, able, and they know how to handle this type of stuff. And then that's like how I learned, hey, First American doesn't underwrite this. Chicago Title doesn't underwrite this. West Core's loose. You learn the underwriters on the back end. Yeah. Yeah. You find out. Yeah. You find out who is willing to either have looser underwriting restrictions. You're able to go, hey, it's a clean cut deal. Let's take it over to our title company that can get it done in 3 days. Or you might go, hey, this is a really messy one. Let's send it to the mom and pop one that it's down the road from us, because they'll handle it. They know how to do it. And it's adapting to that and going, hey, not every tool is going to do the job that you need. You're going to have multiple tools.
Right. And every underwriter has different requirements and different standards, right? So First American may have a different standard in how they're going to underwrite and what they're going to let slide or not. And then you have West Core. They may let some things slide more than others, or maybe they'll be more stringent on it. Every underwriting company is going to be different. And I think this is a great point to touch on, because sometimes investors think that once they're told, hey, like it's this, and this, it's out the window. But I even had a call with another investor the other day about this one deal because the title company's adamant about this happening. I'm thinking maybe instead of it being through Old Republic, maybe they can run it through Fidelity. Old Republic's more, stringent on their rules, and Fidelity maybe a little bit more loose. The idea is that you're just thinking outside the box when you get these deals. I just see it all the time with the probates that come in. So like, I know I speak your language. I speak Logan's language. But yeah, it's going deep and understanding this on a deeper level of how do we get this done. I can tell you there's deals I've seen where there needs to be a quiet title. But I'm even questioning, can we even do it? Like I don't even want to do it until it comes from the top that says, hey, we can do this, right? And I'm sure you've seen that with deals too. Like once they say, yeah, let's do this, boom, go.
Yeah. You'll have the deals where you're like, man, I've been through 2 title companies. I've had this in escrow for 6 months, and you take it to that one title company that's a different underwriter, and they go, okay, let's do this. And it's like, hey, we just need this affidavit. We need like an identity affidavit, and we need this kind of other affidavit. And it's like a hold harmless affidavit or something random, but they're like, this is what it will take for us to insure it. And if you can get me this, we're all good. Let's go.
Yeah. Hey, that if that works, that's what you got to do. And that's why it takes experience when you start getting into this, that you understand that it's not just title companies, it's underwriting. But I love what you call all this, McKlane, the messy title special forces, right? That's what you talked about. The people that go after the messy title, they're the special forces. They're what you called what? The 1% of the 1%.
The 1%. Yeah.
It's true, right?
Yeah, because it's not something that everyone wants to go do, and a lot of investors just toss the deals aside. I talked to our local title company; they have 5 title companies, and their average fallouts they have for messy title is about 15 to 20 deals per office per month in messy title, because investors will get the title commitment and it goes, you have this to cure, and they go, done. We're going to drop it. Let's go to a different deal.
Yeah.
So imagine how many deals are falling out that people aren't even pursuing.
Do you have like a special category in REI SIF for like, you'll have the normal deals, but then the messy deals, it'll be like this little pile on the left. I can only imagine like Tyler's probably got that special section right there. And then you probably revisit that with your team, right? And you say, all right, we know the easy ones, but let's go over these. And then are you having like special team meetings on just
so we triage it. Yeah, we triage it. It's obviously it's like if you're in a catastrophic event, you're like, hey, if someone's already way past where we can help them, okay, let's move on to that. So like we have deals that, hey, might have 20 heirs. We'll have team members that bring it to us and they go, hey, I've got 20 heirs on here. Looks like an okay deal. And we go, I'm glad you found that, but we're not going to work that deal. And then obviously we have other deals where it's like, hey, we have to find 2 heirs. They're probably 30, 40 years old. Let's go do this. Let's go after this one. Let's spend more energy on here versus the one that's from like 1905 and there's 100 heirs and we're going to make $300. Like it's not worth our time. But we do review our stuff because you got to know, is it worth the squeeze?
Yep. And you have to take the time to just review that with your team. If that's something you want to take on, you got to review it. I love it. I find this stuff interesting just because I see it on the lawyer end. You see it on the investor end. And so like, it's the best of both worlds. Cause then you bring everything to the table and like how to problem solve, and get those deals done. But it sounds like you're making good money just with these deals alone. How many messy title deals would you say you've done in 2023?
Before all the buyers flaked on us?
Or just total in general?
Yeah, so I know we did over 250 transactions from my initial start to current day. I'll tell you, it was weird because like 2023, a lot of buyers backed out. So we were personally buying about 2 a week. We were just going hard on everything. So it was very much just transactional at that point. But I'd say like 60, 70% of our deals are messy title for 2023. If I were to look at the whole thing. And again, it was a big shift in January to Q3. Our main focus has always been messy title. And then the buyers pulled out and we go, hey, all these deals are here. We might as well take them down.
Yeah. Are you aiming for a higher percentage this year?
There's one. So I had this talk with my wife is I have more passion in the messy title deals than I do just like there's something about doing a clean cut deal I feel messy about. Like I feel dirty doing a clean deal where it's like, oh, here's my price. I'm going to sell it for a discount. And then we go wholesaler, we go take it down. Like, I don't feel good about that. I feel like I just stole candy from a baby. But whenever I go do a messy title deal and it's like, oh my word, like we've never been able to get this done. It took us forever. Like we would have never been able to find this money if you'd never contacted us or found like our great aunt. Al, I've had people that they have never had contact with family members for decades, and we are bringing families together. And it's awesome to hear and be like, you know what, we were able to make some money. We got in contact with our long lost relative. I had a seller last year. They literally were like, I'm having Christmas with my family I haven't had Christmas with in 20 years.
Wow.
Like that, like that's what I love. I like, there's just something about messy title is it's that 1% of the 1%.
It's a passion for you. It's a thrill just because you get to get all this together. And I feel like it's hard-earned work too.
Yes.
Like you said, it's not just the easy thing. Like you actually like put the time and effort into it. So if any of you are getting into these messy deals, wherever you're at and really need to just grab some advice or learn more about this, McKlane I mean, are you doing videos and stuff online?
So we're finally starting to.
Oh,
Finally, one of my acquisition guys like, dude, you need to just record, like just hit record whenever you walk outside in the day, like just go. So yes, Instagram, Facebook, you can follow me, post, also our reels that we have.
Yeah, you really need to follow McKlane when it comes to this stuff, and especially if you're in the REI SIF community, 100%. I mean, McKlane's usually dropping comments once a week, if not every day, and just it's always of value to investors that are in this niche. Yeah,
Salt, sprinkle my little salt in here. And
well, hey, McKlane, what I've been doing at the towards the end of my show, I've been doing these signature questions for the guests. We didn't even go through this before last week, but they range, and I'm just going to ask you them. If you want to say it in one word, a couple sentences on your answer, go for it. But let's roll through it. So, what software are you using to enhance your business?
Oh, that's Excel sheets. No, I'm kidding. It's REI SIFT, hands down. Yeah, REI SIFT, hands down. Very faithful user. Tyler Austin has done an amazing job at staying ahead of the larger moving ships, if you will, being really in tune with, hey, this is what we're probably going to be moving towards the next year, having that foresight. So I've been with Tyler as far as using the software for 3 years now. And if you haven't looked into it, hands down, like go check it out, watch the testimonials. You'll see our stuff on there. And if you have any questions, like the market's changing, you got to adapt or die.
Yeah, and if anybody has questions on that, definitely check out Tyler's episode. He was on last year in September, and I mean, it's just constantly dropping nuggets on how to get leads, lead gen, sorting, sales, marketing, real estate, and 100% right there. Love it, love that. McKlane, how do you ensure that you're protected in a down market?
Ooh, that's honestly a really good question. So I use this analogy, and I always say it to like our private lenders too, is think of it like you're fishing. If the fish aren't biting, change bait. If you still don't have any fish biting in the pond, change ponds. So for us, it's adapting to the market and going, hey, we have our continuous cycle of deep prospect, go, no go. But as we all know, the market shifts from rentals to fix and flip. You have different seasons of life and seasons of real estate investing. So it's being able to adapt to it, but also having the software, like obviously we use stuff like Data USA, we use heat maps. We try and stay above the market, but obviously no one can predict the market. It's always a guessing game. So the way we truly hedge against that fluctuations in the market is we are lean and we're a mean machine. That's all it is we're not a big company where we have 50 employees and massive overhead. We know, hey, here's our net profit on this. We're able to adapt within 30 days or within 2 weeks compared to the bigger operations that they only wholesale. They only do novations. And then you switch. Hey, now we're owner finance. Now we're subject to. You have to be able to adapt to that. Just like our fishing analogy.
And keep your portfolio diversified. Keep your tools and everything that you're working on, keep them sharpened. Yes. Because you never know which direction you're going to go, and you're going to have to pivot, and you're going to have to focus on something. Maybe it's slow, maybe it's fast, or maybe it's time to go into a different direction. But I love your answer right there. McKlane, how do you use the internet and social media in your business?
Ooh. So if anyone is downplaying Facebook, posting content like this, like Al, like I would have never met Al until I'd seen him post stuff in was it REI Sift on Facebook, and same for Al. I mean, you made the comment earlier. We use it for all of it. We use it for outreach, raising private capital. We use it for contacting sellers. Just because you can skip trace a seller and you can find their phone number or send them a pizza, they're a human being. They probably have a Facebook and it shows them having pictures of their grandkids. You have to be really creative with your outreach versus just mail, text, and you might have I don't know, you might have email, you might email them, but at the end of the day, you've got to use all your resources. So like for us, raising private capital, getting a message out, marketing for our SEO and organic growth. Okay, get the word out. It's free. Like you should use every resource at your disposal to build your business. Unless you're doing a side hustle, that's fine. But if you plan to be here in 3-5 years, you're either utilizing the internet and the resources, and you're doing yourself a disservice as long as a disservice to your family.
Yeah, and I remember, I mean, that's what stood out about you. That was different. You were commenting on different people posting about their deals and their crazy situations, and I mean, and you were right there. You were going through it, and you were posting on REI Sift. So you were leveraging Facebook for even those connections, internet wise. It was just great that you came out to the event, and it's like, there's McKlane. He's a person. He's there. He's here. But you use those tools to really leverage those connections. And now, hopefully, with the videos, I hope you have somebody like holding the camera all the time while you're on the phone. It's going to enhance it more because it's going to show what you do and what your skill set is with messy titles, or how you're overcoming seller objections, or getting people to the negotiation table or closing table. It's just going to be different and leveraging it that way. So I love your answer right there. Love it. Love what you're doing. McKlane, this has been awesome. I'm sure you and I could talk about probates and quiet titles in depth with underwriting bizarre requirements all night. It'd be that'd be a whole other episode. I gotta say, in our chat room, my guy Michael, I love him, Michael Williams, my producer. He goes, "What's up, Wednesday night crew? We're here, right? We're here." Kyle Vreeland, Kyle, love it. Go Al, go. You know it, man. Christopher Rubottom. Oh, Chris is on. Cool. Send a pizza. That's a great idea. I thought that was crazy when he said that on the phone last week. I'm thinking, this is nuts. This is crazy. Mike says, this episode brought to you by Papa John's. 100%. Yeah. I'm thinking, wait a second. Is somebody going to knock on the door and bring a pizza? That'd be crazy. Chris said, how did you negotiate down the Medicaid lien?
Ooh, so that was honestly the most surprising because we were at the finish line. Again, this goes back to your question about, hey, why don't I buy out the interest? I was negotiating with the Secretary of Medicaid for Ohio. And it came down to, hey, here's the situation we're dealing with. This family has gone through probate. They have no money. They have this lien standing between them and losing everything. And we went from an $83,000 Medicaid lien to $1,200. Like, I have the email where the Secretary of Medicaid for Ohio literally said, let's make sure they get, it was like $1,000 a piece is what it broke down to. Is they lowered their lien all the way down to where it was even $1,000 net profit to all of the heirs. And it came down to just saying, hey, here's what we're dealing with. Here's how we're helping them. Here's what it will do. If we negotiate city fines, demo liens, like taxes, we negotiate all this. And we were like, hey, we just need you to do this and you will get money. Otherwise, they're not paying it.
There you go. Hopefully that works for Chris. I don't know if maybe he's got something going on with the Medicaid lien. If he's still on, he could drop a comment for sure. And my guy, Rob Stewart, Lake City Title right there. You know, the title companies are watching. I haven't seen you in so long. Crazy stuff. He's seen some of the probates and wild, crazy, quiet titles I've been doing. So, but McKlane, this has been great, man. I mean, first of all, I haven't seen you in a while, and just great hearing what's going on in your business. Great hearing what's happening, catching us up on messy, quiet titles. Love it. And people definitely got to follow you if they aren't already, and watch what's coming. And as I do on the end of the Al Nicoletti Show, I do a segment called Final Words, Final Thoughts. Anything that you didn't cover, anything that you really want to reinforce or just shed light on that people can hone in on their business or the outlook for this year, you name it. It's whatever you want to do. As I do, Final Words, Final Thoughts, McKlane Bobbitt.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Al. So final words I would say is dig the well before you need the water. That's hands down. We're going into an interesting market. We've already seen a lot of big name investors either get cut down, collapse, restructure their marketing, whatever it might be. But build those relationships, build up your business, because at the end of the day, whenever you need it the most, and you're like, hey, I need help from Al, or hey, I've got a deal that's really messy, and I won't say like 10 o'clock at night, and I go, hey, Al, I need some help on this deal. You want those people in your back pocket for whenever it comes to wartime. That's what we call it. It is purely wartime, and you have to be able to go and call those people that are in your back pocket or have that relationship built ahead of time. We're going into wild, wild times, so everyone needs to be prepared. That's hands down.
Crazy. I love it. Hey, that's what could happen, right? You never know where the market's going. Just be prepared. Be prepared for where that's going. McKlane, by the way, Chris said, I recently had a deal I didn't think was possible because of a high Medicaid lien. Thanks for the insight.
Awesome.
Look at that. Look at that value right there. McKlane, so awesome seeing you. Thanks for coming on the show, talking about this, shedding light on it. And I'm sure it's going to enlighten more people to rethink their strategy with their deals and what's coming in, and saying, wait a second, maybe I shouldn't pass this off. Maybe I should get into this. So thank you so much for coming on. And always great seeing you, man. So it's always great.
Awesome to see Al.
Love it. Thanks again, man. I'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. All right. That was the messy title episode right there. If you are thinking about getting into deals, or maybe your team keeps finding the lead flow of maybe missing heirs, or you get 3 under contract, you're missing the 4th, or maybe something's messy like McKlane was talking about with the Medicaid liens or liens in general, and there's something messy. These are the type of people that can be amazing resources for you, because they've been in the trenches. They've seen the experience behind it. And this is the kind of guest that we want to bring on for you, to show you that if you come across this, or maybe you'll listen to this and a year or 2 from now, that deal is going to happen. Or maybe your teams, I know high volume investor teams that are bringing tons of lead flow in, but they never actually considered messy title before as a lead source for making money on it. Maybe it's going to take a little bit longer than usual, but this is what we bring to the show. These are the guests that we want to bring the value. And if you missed any of McKlane's episode, go back to the beginning, check it out, and you can find all the guests on the Al Nicoletti Show. Scan the QR code right there. Thank you, Mike. Scan the QR code, and you'll find everything from where we're at, iTunes, Spotify. And if you're listening to this later on iTunes and Spotify, just know, again, we go live Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern. You don't want to miss it. If you have questions, we can ask them to the guests live. And we love you all out there that are always watching, always tuning in, always listening, whether live or later on. This is what we love. We love the engagement, and we can't wait to keep bringing great guests like McKlane Bobbitt on the show. I'll see you all next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. You don't want to miss it, because we're going to bring back a special guest from season 2. And we are going to be talking about self-directed IRAs and how you can leverage your Roth IRA, your IRAs, on how to invest in real estate. We brought Nate on before, but Nate and I are going to make it like part 2, because we're going to talk about things that we'll do a refresher, but we're going to talk about things that we didn't even have the time to talk about on the last episode. And we can't wait to dive in. So you don't want to miss that on how you can leverage your IRA and get into real estate investing. Can't wait to see you there. Have a great night, everybody. Take care. See you next Wednesday at 9 p.m.